Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post, Parshas Chukas, is going to discuss the concept of containment. In this week's Parsha, we read about the Parah Aduma and the process of Tahara through the Parah Aduma. That the Parah Aduma was shechted, it was burnt, the ashes were gathered, it was placed in water, and finally the water was sprinkled on a Tamei person to make them Tahar. So we see that the Parah Aduma was a process of helping a person who was Tamei become Tahar. And what's interesting is that whoever was involved in the process of the Parah Aduma, the shechting, the burning, the gathering of the ashes, they would become Tamei. They themselves would become Tamei, and they would have to immerse their clothes and their body in a mikveh, and they would be Tamei until the evening. But the final person who would sprinkle the water on the Tamei person, they themselves would remain Tahar, and they would make the other person who was Tamei Tahar. So I'd like to discuss this process of the Parah Aduma as a process of containment. Containment is a psychoanalytical idea discussed by Wilfred Bion, where he says that he looks at the interaction between a mother and a child, and we can also apply this to the interaction of a therapist and a client, that when a child has an overwhelming emotion, a distressing emotion that they can't bear themselves, they project it onto the mother. The mother then takes on the emotion, but it does not react to it. They are not overwhelmed by the emotion, they contain it, and they are able, together with the child, they help the child to process this emotion. The mother will then return the emotion in a adapted and contained way to the child, and the child can now reintegrate the emotion for themselves in a manageable way. And also in the clinical setting, the therapist creates a containment, an environment of containment, where the client who might have an overwhelming and distressing emotion that they are not able to talk about, the therapist is able to, through the therapeutic setting, is able to contain this emotion, and is able then to return the emotion again to the client, and they can reintegrate it in a healthy way. So we see that containment, whether it's for the child or for the client, is a process of helping them to be able to manage this difficult emotion, to change this difficult and overwhelming emotion into something which can be adapted to be contained, and then a person can reach a healthier state and a state of well-being. So also in the Parah Aduma process, each person that becomes Tamei is involved in this process of containment. They themselves temporarily contain the Tumah, they become Tamei themselves as well, relating to the final Tumah of the person themselves, of the person that they are going to be Metaher through this Parah Aduma process. They themselves become Tamei as well, temporarily, until finally the final stage of the process, the person that sprinkles the Parah Aduma water onto the Tamei person, they themselves is Tahar. They are containing this difficult emotion, they are containing the Tumah, and they are returning it. They are returning the Tahara to the final person that is Tamei, to make them Tahar. So we can explain this process as well as a process of containment, of each person being involved, who's involved in this process becomes Tamei temporarily, which is equatable to the containment of a difficult emotion. But the final person, which is like the mother or the therapist, is able to return the difficult emotion or to return the Tahara to the final person, which is the Tamei person, which is equatable to the child or the client, and they all reach a level of tahara, of purity, of well-being, and better health. So this is a psychoanalytical idea of being able to explain the Parah Aduma process, and it also gives us a message of trying to understand the interpersonal relationships that we have, especially of a parent and a child, of helping them being able to regulate and process their emotions. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.